Oh, you wrote this great feature, just really detailing Grady's process growing up as a kid, and working in his family's backcourt to become the shooter that he is today. Would love for you to tell the listeners a bit more about his process.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, Grady has two older brothers, and everything with them is a competition. He would do everything, like whether it was a shooting competition, free throws, whatever. He was so competitive from a young age that he would literally be out there in the dark, barely see, practicing a shot in the dark. His dad would say, if you can shoot the ball in the dark, you can shoot it in the light, and that's how he kind of created his muscle memory, was from those younger years of just constantly playing in the dark, honing his shot, and he's become one of the best shooters in the nation just because of that competition and the repetition. On non-game days, he takes over 500 shots a day.
Okay.
He tries to make a good amount, and he's just ridiculous work ethic, and he's just been obsessed with being the best amongst his brothers, and it's turned out to be one of the best shooters in the nation because of it.
Yeah, I was. There's one of those videos that I think Ball is Life does, where they'll sort of follow a player throughout a course of their day, usually about a high schooler, and sort of like get to see their process and sort of what their life looks like. And there is a scene in one of those videos where, he's playing ping pong with his brother, and apparently the game is essentially, it's the game to 5, and the loser has to sort of accept a free shot at the back where sort of, they shoot the ping pong ball and hit it as hard as they can at the brother. So you can definitely tell there's that like friendly rivalry with sort of everything that they do. I mean, I think what's interesting here is his mom was also a really, really accomplished basketball player as well, right? So I'm curious to see, what the influence that his mom, Carmen, had on Grady's game.
Yeah, absolutely. I know with Carmen, he credits her for pretty much like teaching him so much. They used to grow up playing against each other in the backyard. She was more of a post player. She played at Iowa State. And back when I think it was, they played with 6 people and you couldn't the style of basketball is like you had people on offense, you had people on defense. But really the first time he beat his mom was 12 years old. And that's when she realized, okay, Grady, you're starting to become this player that can be pretty good. And he gets his competitive spirit from his mom and his dad, who's been coaching him since he was young. But they really do expect a lot out of him on and off the court. And it's clear the influence she has on him because he's a total mama's boy, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good detail.
I think it's interesting too because like Shreyas, I know you were sending me some video clips too before the show, and like we were just talking about, Grady being such a big personality off the court, like having been, around him, covered him, like what was that like? Just like what are the things that stood out to you about him off the court?
I mean, he's confident. It's one of those things where you don't really see it from a 19-year-old kid that often, but he's confident. He's eloquent. He's really succinct in his wording. He's been. It feels like he's been media trained for years, and in a way he has. I mean, in his junior year of high school, he was followed around by cameras by overtime at Sunrise Christian. He's a really goofy, funny kid. He's loved in the locker room. He's one of those guys that, when a tough loss happens, he can, raise up the spirits with just his mood and his personality. And initially coming into the locker room at KU, people were like, who is this goofy kid? Is he really that serious? He can't be that good. But he's won his teammates over with his play on the court, his personality. I don't know if you've seen any of his Instagram posts, but I think after he played Indiana earlier in the year, he was like, "Who's your daddy?" as his caption. He's a funny kid, and he likes to trash talk a little bit. I think that innate confidence that he has in himself makes him that much better of a player on the court.
Yeah, so you weren't surprised seeing him show up in his draft day suit yesterday?
No, not at all. I mean, honestly, he's the most eccentric, goofy kid I've ever covered, and he's authentically one of one. I think the nation is about to be introduced to Grady Dick and who he is, and I'm so excited for it because he's a pleasure, and especially if he turns out to be as good as I hope, and a lot of Kansas fans and people who've watched him play hope he will be. He's going to take the nation by storm. I think he's one of those guys that his personality is going to get him a lot of endorsement deals, and his play on the court I think is pretty special.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of want to circle back a little bit on just sort of like the environment in which he grew up in, because I think here in Toronto, it's there's so much to do. It's a big city. It's the culture capital of Canada. I know that's gonna be a controversial statement to people outside of Toronto, but it's true. Let's be honest. And it's just an entirely different kind of lifestyle, what's supposed to growing up where Grady grew up. So can you kind of describe like the importance of basketball sort of in the community in which he sort of comes from?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basketball, to be honest with you, I've lived in Kansas for 8 months now. I'm a Georgia kid, but there isn't a ton to do here.
That's kind of what I mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Kansas City is 45 minutes away, and that's the nicest big city around here, which is a good city, but it's not Toronto, obviously. I think with him, like basketball was that thing that he was so good at on the court that, it allows him to be a little bit about himself. But I think a city like Toronto, a city like a team like the Raptors, where there's a lot of young guys he's going to get along with. I mean, he told me he FaceTimed Scotty Barnes yesterday already and all that. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be such a great fit for him because you're going to see his true self, I think, unleashed that you couldn't have even seen in Lawrence, Kansas, or you could have seen in Kansas in general. Because, I mean, he's one of those kids that his personality can't be contained almost. Yeah. And basketball was that thing where he was always better than everybody else on the court because he worked his tail off. He wasn't the most athletic. He wasn't the most gifted, but he is pretty athletic compared to a lot of guys who are 6'8", especially white dudes, to be honest with you, to be frank. And, he when he can't shoot the ball well, he'll try to make up for it other ways on the court. I wrote a story about it early in the year where he had 10 rebounds in a game, and, because he couldn't make a bucket. And the video coordinator at Kansas kept on asking him, how can you impact the game? And he made it personal, and he got the rebounds when, Kansas played undersized all last year against some tough teams, and that was enough for them to win the game. And he's a guy that I think, he's very underrated on the basketball court on both ends. His defense, it's a work in progress. There's a lot of quickness to improve, but he gets steals. He's got great length. I think he's going to have a long career in the NBA because of his work ethic and just the tangible skills of that elite shooting ability.
Mm. Yeah. You wrote another great article too, Shreyas, about, you talked to head coach Bill Self and you talked to Grady as well. You talked about his confidence and his sometimes willingness to trash talk and, clearly, with his name, he received a lot of vulgar chants on the road about his last name. Before we even get into this, first of all, Will and I have been inundated already with a lot of Grady Dick jokes.
You don't understand. The media room yesterday, as soon as the pick was made, there were 100 corny jokes that I've heard. Yeah, I've come into the office today just looking to watch some
apologize for a
and
lot of those.
There's a lot of people already making more of those jokes. So
yeah, sure.
You can completely understand.
How do we deal with this environment? Because we're going to, Grady Dick is going to be in our lives for a few years at least.
I mean, listen, it's part of the gig, right? You got to get used to all the, the vulgar dick jokes. I mean, he's used to it by now, and he leans into it. I mean, I'm sure all the stuff you guys have seen, the student newspaper had a picture of him with, big and then his picture and then energy underneath
Clever.
it. So a nice little clever thing. It's one of those things that you're going to hear, I think, at every arena, especially if he becomes as hated as I think he'll be. I think Grady's going to be one of those guys that you'll love him on your team, but you'll hate to play against him, especially because he's a little cocky. He's a little confident. He's got that shooter swagger, and, there's nothing more annoying than watching a guy bury three-pointers in his name, and his name is Grady Dick.
Mm. So it's like a little JJ Redick kind of, obviously not to that extent because that was an all-timer really with how much negative attention he got at Duke, and he was to be very, very clear, he was a much better player in college. But Yeah, okay, that'll be interesting because I feel like the Raptors actually don't have any antagonizers at all. The closest thing we have to that is sometimes Scotty Barnes will slow down in a fast break and look back at a guy, and by a guy I mean like Kevin Durant. But like,
No, Grady's the type that's gonna play to the crowd a little bit. I feel like, right? Like on the
sure,
road
okay,
and things like that.
no, that's good. I feel like that's all good. I mean, look, it's an entertainment business more than anything else, you know. And
Yeah.
as long as you take the sport seriously, like you enjoy it to your full, capacity.
Yeah, and I think
Oh,
just curious, like in your article too, like you talked to Grady and he was quoted saying, about the trash talk and all the stuff that he hears at visiting arenas. He said, "quote I love it. I kind of like being the hated one, and that it fuels the fire for sure." So again, I feel like that just kind of taps into kind of the confidence that he has about himself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he's one of those guys that, his poor grandma was at those games and she would hear those chants
Okay.
and, she was having a rough time. Anytime I look over and she'd be like, oh my God, but he's so used to it. It doesn't really faze him. I think, he cracks up sometimes. You'll see him crack up when people make those chants. And even himself talked about it. He kind of looks at it, he smirks, and he takes it and puts it in his head and uses it to play better on the court, I think. He's one of those guys that I think if opposing fans, chant something vulgar or use his last name or whatever, he's going to play better, not worse.
Mm. This is a family program, but I am very curious. What were those chants?
Oh, it was you suck dick.
Okay.
A lot of them.
Gosh, got you. There's a comma in there.
Yeah.
There's a comma in there.
Yeah, there was a comment there referring to the player.
That's absolutely.
Yeah. No, before I let you go, Shreyas, we talk so much about these different aspects of Grady's game, his personality on and off the court. I don't know if there's another story or anything you want to share with us that Raptors fans would like to know about Grady before he arrives here in Toronto and starts his career.
You know what? Actually, I was going to add to that. If one of us were to interview him directly, maybe let's say next week, as is currently scheduled, what's something I can crack him with? Because as you mentioned, he's already very media trained. So what's something I can catch him off guard with?
Ask him about, so a couple months ago, TCU came into Allen Fieldhouse and thrashed Kansas. It doesn't happen that often, but they did it.
Okay.
And they stole a bunch of stuff, like a basketball, some shirts, and this and that.
Okay.
Kansas went down to TCU. They beat them. And Grady, being the ringleader, he stole a bunch of their shirts and the basketball that back. There is some Twitter stuff on it. I think you guys had Jordan earlier or have him later. I think he has it, and I have it on my Twitter. But you can see a picture of him wearing a TCU shirt, a crowd shirt or whatever they got written with a big W or a big L or something like that on it. But yeah, so there's a little bit of a friendly rivalry here and there, but he was having a lot of fun with it. So definitely ask him about the TCU stuff and stealing the ball, etc.
Okay, that's excellent. I'm definitely going to do that.
No, that's awesome, man. Shreyas, man, appreciate your time. If people want to read more about Grady Dick, just look up Shreyas Laddha at the Kansas City Star. He has just a long list of wonderful features on Grady from his one season at Kansas. Thanks again for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys.